Your cousin's boyfriend having a real estate license does not make them equipped to handle a multi-million dollar real estate transaction. We should talk.
Hi, I'm Laura Kelley, chair of the Miami-Dade Democratic Party, and today I have a very special guest. His name is Rey Sordo. He is the Democratic nominee for Florida House District 119. That means he does not have a primary. He's going straight to the general election in November. Rey, thank you so much for being with us. And thank you for running for office, which, trust me, I know is a huge endeavor. So thank you, and tell us more about who you are.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me, Laura. It's an honor and a privilege to be here, especially alongside a giant like yourself who has blazed the way, blazed the trail, and allowed me the space to be here. So thank you. Like you said, I am Rey Sordo. For my Spanish people, sordo, no para usted, pero para mi padre sí, alguna vez.
I too can say sordo.
My tables love that one. But yeah, listen, I'm the son of Cuban immigrants who made their way to the United States, like so many other immigrants who have historically come to this country seeking the same thing, a slice of the American dream. And they've built that with their bare hands. My father's hands today are scarred as evidence for the work that he's put in for us. And I couldn't be prouder to say that his first time voting will be for his son.
Oh, yeah. That's amazing. I love that.
Thank you.
I'm an immigration attorney. So whenever I have new citizens, I'm like, congratulations, register to vote, vote. And this is so incredible. I love that.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's a misconception that the Cuban Americans vote one way. And when we're seeing that that's not the truth, less so even now than before. And so it's great to hear that we have strong Cuban Americans such as yourself running for office and showing people that there is a way to embrace politics and embrace Miami-Dade, which was built by immigrants.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't be more grateful to have someone with your profile running for office. Not only the immigrant history, but Rey, you're young.
Yeah.
You're exactly what we've been being told that who we need to reach out to. And it really matters to have representation. How do you think a young person in House District 119 views seeing themselves in a future leader?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that question because one of the main focuses for this campaign is speaking up for the silent majority. And, you know, just to steal that phrase from history, but to adopt it as our own, because there is a silent majority today in Miami-Dade. And those are the folks that are often forgotten by the politicians who are being funded by the very same corporations and special interests who currently have the boots on our proverbial neck.
Right.
And for me, a big part of that, it's not just the grandparents worrying about staying in the homes that they've lived in for decades, that they built themselves because of rising insurance hikes or insurance assessments, or the parents working double jobs, worrying about whether their kid can go to a good school where they're protected and looked after and taken care of and prepared for the real world. But especially the young people like myself who have never been involved in politics before, never thought politics could work for them or that we could work for the government. And it's those folks that for me matter the most, because at the end of the day, we're talking about having a seat at the table, but is there going to be a table left? You know, we were talking about this, but I fear that there won't be a table left. We live in Florida. We have one Everglades in the entire world, one Everglades. And we are not only just ignoring it and neglecting it, but we are actively destroying it.
Yeah.
We're destroying it. And young people care about the planet. And we don't have to be religious. My faith always taught me that we were put on this green and blue earth to be the caretakers of not just the land and the people, but also the animals and the natural beauty that surrounds us today in Florida. And, you know, a big part of that resonates with young people. So I truly believe that me taking up this fight and screaming for everybody also encourages young people like myself to stand up and fight and scream. And we see it today. I'm happy to say I have 30 volunteers. We just started 3 weeks ago. And half of them have never, ever picked up a news headline that had to do with politics.
Yeah.
They hate politics. That's what they say out of the horse's mouth. They hate it. But yet they are so passionate and driven by the mission that we are pursuing to make Miami-Dade and Florida a brighter future for us all.
I love that. I mean, it's incredible to have 30 volunteers so early in your campaign, first of all. And I know that that's going to become exponential growth as more people see your incredible social media presence. I mean, that's one of the things that we love about having young people is you really know how to work social media. And it's been watching you has been, I'm just floored by how great you do. I'm like, too bad you're running for office right now, so you can't like help us more with the comms on our side. But nevertheless, it's really good. And yeah, I think, look, when I was one of those people who from a young age was very motivated by politics. Someone asked me if I remembered Bill Clinton on Arsenio Hall, and they're like, you're probably too young. I was like 11, but I remember.
Yeah.
And it did something in me.
Yeah.
Like I was also raised by MTV. I'm part of the MTV generation. Do you even know what MTV is?
Yes.
Yeah,
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace, exactly.
Peace. Wow.
But because of that, I had, even though I grew up in, suburban Texas, I was able to kind of meet diverse groups of people that I wouldn't have interacted with otherwise. And so it really changed who I was and my perspective, and I'm super grateful for it. But I remember Rock the Vote. I remember all of the efforts that have been made across every single election cycle to get young people involved. And if you'll permit me, I first became chair, we had this really great candidate forum for our three congressional representatives who are Republicans who will not do town halls. They will not show up and speak to their constituents. So we held one for them. And I remember there was somebody, actually one of my favorite actors. I did not recognize her though, because anyways, it's a long story.
I'd love to hear it.
But we got into kind of, I wanted to say a heated argument, but it wasn't really an argument. There was definitely a lot of pushback about how do we get young people involved. And I told her I really don't have the answer because we've been trying to do this for so long. And it's hard for young people to see that their vote matters, that their voice matters, because they've been ignored. Yeah. They've been largely ignored. And it's hard to convince.
Yes.
But I think seeing someone like you run for office and speak to the very things that matter to them helps. And I want to know, do you have a strategy for the youth vote?
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I always go back to the very same thing. I have my Constitution here and other proud writings of this great nation to remind me and ground me and center me as to exactly that, what you're talking about. And it goes back to the very beginning. And, for the longest time, this country has not really allowed young people to stand up and speak, right? We weren't ready. We weren't experienced enough. We weren't educated enough. But yet, that's the beauty of America, right? Things might not be perfect, but we have the tools to work towards that perfection, to work towards that goal. And that's exactly what we're doing. We are taking those tools put down or left behind by government so that we can pick them up and get to work. And as far as a strategy with the youth, it's, of course, TikTok. My media manager is somewhere around here looking for me to do TikToks. Don't let her know I'm here. But it's much more than just trendy catch lines or appearing on podcasts or, pretty pictures. It's about listening and connecting and truly understanding where it is that we are coming from, right? We, the young people, and yourself included, because we are the young generation. And, that begins with understanding what it is that motivates us and what matters most to us. And going back, again, someone might call me an environmental terrorist, as we are called now.
No.
But just if I'm an environmentalist terrorist because I care about our green earth and the planet around us and the Everglades especially, then so be it. So many of us care because we see the damage that has been wrought by the negligence of Tallahassee and the government. We've seen it every single day, day in and day out. Animals that we've never seen before being forced into our communities because their homelands or their natural habitats are being paved over or bulldozed or burnt down because they want to build more warehouses or more AI data centers or unnecessary buildings or homes that we could truly build in other places. There's so many places in Miami-Dade that are currently just corn fields because a corporation wants to hold that property for tax, cuts, or they want to keep it for future investment. Why are we not building up instead of building out into protected lands? That's one piece that regulates the natural. Another big thing is a lot of my own cousins, many of them Republican, who support this campaign today, I'm proud to say, Trump supporters, but yet believe in the mission because they've seen what the government does. They don't care if you're left or right. You're suffering no matter what. Many of my cousins today live in Orlando, in Texas, the great state that you're from, in Tennessee, North Carolina. They're fleeing Florida in droves. Young people with the future in their hands. The future is literally engraved in us, and yet we are leaving Florida. The future is leaving Florida.
Because they can't afford to live here.
Correct. They're being squeezed out of the very communities they were born to live in and are no longer a part of. And that means we're not just losing brilliant and passionate people, but we're losing investment. We're losing the structures that we will depend on in the future.
And consumption.
Consumption.
Consumers,
Yeah, absolutely. It's a big thing for me. So
one of the things that I get a lot of pushback on is both from Democrats, independents, and Republicans is, from Republicans, I hear you're a communist.
Socialista. No.
And from Democrats, and non-party affiliated voters or independent voters, what I hear from them is, why can't you message better around the fact that we're not communists? Why? And I said, well, listen, here's the thing.
Yeah.
There's been this lie that Democrats are communists that has been repeated so much that there's a segment of the population that believes that. So if I just come out and say, I am not a communist, and the Democrats are not communists, that doesn't resonate. Yeah. It doesn't resonate because we can't repeat the lie as well as they can, or we can't repudiate the lie as well as they can repeat the lie.
Yeah.
And so what I try to say in that is, listen, I believe in a capitalist economy. There's been no Democratic elected official that I'm aware of that has not believed in a capitalist economy. I'm a business owner. Yeah. I am a business owner, we know that we have a consumer-driven economy. When we talk about things like immigration, just like what you were saying about the environment, this is in service to our capitalist economy. Because if we don't have the people driving consumption and driving production, then we don't have an economy.
What do you have?
Exactly.
And I mean, let me tackle this in two parts, right? Because we are talking about, competitiveness and an active, vibrant economy, which is very foundation at our country's being, and I believe in that. And I've been calling myself a Florida Democrat, like our future governor, Jolly. But with that, as a Cuban American with parents who fled the communist regime of Cuba, let me be the first to say that communism is a lie. Yes. Communism is a lie, plain and simple, like lies told by many demagogues throughout history to control the people, and not just control, but destroy the people. Yep. And they've tried to, but the people persevere today. The Cuban people are still strong and fighting today to their last breath, tooth and nail, to destroy the very government that has oppressed them for so long. And even before them, Cuba has never been free. Yeah. Right? Cuba has never been free, like so many of my Caribbean, Southern American brothers and sisters, or around the world. But my point is that at the end of the day, people know what true communism looks like. And when they speak to me, they don't walk away asking, oh, are you a Democrat or socialist? They're asking me, when can I get you into office? Right. Because at the end of the day, when you speak to the people's heart and you show that you're a son of the community, not a son of the government, not a son of Tallahassee or Washington or Havana, but a son of the community, and you actually believe in the people, that they come first. It's not about party. It's not about ideals. It's about producing results. It's about actually putting in the work that makes people's lives better.
It's about service.
Service.
It's humility. About service, yeah.
Humility, service, showing up, listening, and breaking a sweat. When was the last time you have seen a politician break a sweat?
Oh, I have, and but I'm not going to mention it on this podcast today. But we're seeing some great politicians, our candidates, step up and do the hard work that really hasn't been done. I think in past election cycles, or we have kind of moved away from that because there's so much money in politics, and people put that focus. And look, money in politics is important, but what's more important is exactly what you said: is speaking to people, but really as you said, listening to people, listening to what people want. I read an article this weekend that said, there's something that actually brings both Republicans and Democrats together more than anything else, and that is a suspicion about AI. And you mentioned data centers and where are they going to go? I mean, AI is obviously here. It's not going anywhere, but we cannot just build out into our wetlands. And we see that. Listen, I live in Doral. We all know that we had these massive fires over the last couple of weeks, create like really devastating for air quality, devastating for our wetlands.
Water.
Exactly, water. We always have a dry season. It's not abnormal to have a dry season before the wet season begins, but we are in a drought. I'm still like, where's the rain? Mm-hmm. And we have to understand that preserving the Everglades, preserving our natural habitat is actually preservation of ourselves, because this is where we get our water. Yeah. This is where we get the air we breathe. Our oceans are right here. We cannot destroy them, because if we destroy them, we destroy ourselves.
Our homes, our very fabric of our being. When I say a future we can afford, I don't mean that just financially. Mm-hmm. It's not just a slogan. It means spiritually too. At the end of the day, we're mammals, right? Birth rates are plummeting worldwide, because what happens to a mammal when the mammal is depressed and kept in the cage? We've seen it happen in SeaWorld, right down the street from our homes, right? Or Miami's aquarium, even, So on that, at the end of the day, when we are destroying our own homes and not allowing not affordability, but also livability, the fact that we can't live in a city that's just all concrete hellscape, but some beautification that actually makes sense. For example, again, my environmental terrorist side, right? More trees, something as simple as planting more trees in specific areas where we can bring down the usage of electricity, right? Mm-hmm. So it's
the use of green space is something that has been studied, and that green space is actually very, very much needed for our well-being. I know that I need to be hiking a few times a year in the mountains in order to really recharge. I'm not saying everyone needs to go hiking in Georgia to recharge, but we do need green spaces. But you mentioned something important, that is the birth rate decline, and it's something that concerns a lot of people. But it's also, that goes hand in hand with affordability as well. When we are not investing in families, when we are not investing in the working class and the middle class,
our souls and our spirit,
then of course it's very hard for families to decide to have more children when they can't afford to have the children that they have.
Let me ask you this, Laura. How can you have a family when you don't even have pride? Not you, but anybody, everybody, have pride in your very own community? And how can you have pride in your community when the community doesn't have pride in you and doesn't encourage you to love your community? So, for example, we have parks here, Chuck Prezot, that I grew up minutes away, that is just all grass, 2 trees, and 1 bench. Mm-hmm. What kid wants to play there, right? When we travel the world and we go to these beautiful cities, Barcelona, Amsterdam,
Madrid,
Bont Park, look at those parks.
Yeah.
There's not a space that you can't walk in that the sun hits you and you want to hide. There's so much shade and beauty in animals and ducks and birds, and it's just all congregates there. Because just like the animals, we are drawn there too. We congregate there too. Or even then, let's bring it back down to Miami's earth for a second. Why not develop parks that engage local small businesses? Why have we forgotten the businesses that build our communities? Why can't we offer them a spot of land on that very same park that they can invest in or sponsor, and at the same time not just beautify that area, but also prop up their own business? Yeah. Right?
One of the things that concerns me personally, and I want to get your perspective as a future legislator, in Tallahassee, is the way that the Tallahassee, by our state legislature, frankly, and our governor, have wrested away local control away from our municipalities. And one of the things that we're seeing right now is that we have different areas are going to have different priorities. Right. They have different demographics, they have different needs. I mean, and that's why local control is so important. But I guess I wanted to talk a little bit about this property tax ballot initiative and why it's so dangerous for our local municipalities. I think nobody likes paying taxes.
Right. Yeah. Hello. We revolted against the greatest empire on earth for less, right? It was on our
Right.
T's.
Exactly. Well, taxation without representation.
A big
Exactly.
thing, but yeah.
And so nobody likes paying taxes.
No.
But I think we like services. I
Yeah.
know I like knowing that I can call 911 if there's an emergency. I know I like calling our firefighters if there's an emergency. I know that our municipalities need funding. Exactly.
Support.
And there's this another lie that is being spread that is so easy to accept because it seems to make so much sense if you just don't dig through it. And that's the idea that our municipalities are wasteful. Let me tell you what is wasteful. You were talking about the Everglades.
Yeah.
We are finally closing down Alligator Alcatraz.
Yeah.
And thank the Lord for that. But that was a state-run facility to basically further the federal immigration crackdown. And that federal immigration crackdown cost the state of Florida taxpayers $1.5 billion as estimated. $1.5 billion.
With a B.
Mm-hmm. Yes, with a B, and to put money into contractors' pockets.
Porta potty.
Right, but that's money that was supposed to go to emergency crisis management. And when I was watching the fires burn that got very close to my old home, very, very close to my old home, the things that we hadn't seen, like literally homes being in danger in ways that have not been in past years. And I think about what's going to happen if there's a hurricane. Just looking at the horrible earthquakes that happen in Venezuela and the extreme death toll that is just absolutely devastating. All that is to show how important it is to have funding, regulation, permitting, all these things that is funded by in our country, our local municipalities.
Yeah, taxes.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you bring that up. And there's 3 points on there that I want to touch on. And first and foremost, I want to say that I'm always in favor of putting money back into our constituents' pockets.
Absolutely.
Right? They deserve relief. But let's look at why they need relief, right? Why do they need relief? My opponent has been in office 2 terms now, right? He's had his time in the spotlight. The governor that he works with and works under has been in office for how long? The president that he has pictures with and that he props up as our Lord and Savior, right? Less than, So what are you admitting to here? That you failed the people and now you need to cut down on services to give them relief? 1. 2, yes, I'm always in favor of putting money back into our constituents' pockets. However, Florida is not a solve-all state. We're not all exactly the same. Miami-Dade itself is a convoluted, not mess, but beautiful variety of different self-governed villages, municipalities, beautiful cities, and all sorts of things like the city of Doral you reside in. So again, not one community, not one family, not one constituent is like the other. They're all different. So why are we slapping one solve-all solution to people? Number one, I love that they say they're the party of small government, and it seems like nowadays people who look and sound like me are more for small government, right?
Right, that's what I was saying.
It's incredible.
Local control,
it's
right?
incredible.
States' rights rather than an overarching
What's going
executive.
on here? Are we having another Southern strategy or Whigs and Federalists flip? I don't know, but my thing is,
and I'm a fiscal conservative, as it turns out.
Same
now.
here.
Yeah,
we're business owners. We have to be. But the thing is, at the end of the day, they like to manipulate people and say that there's a misinformation campaign when really they're the ones propping up that misinformation. And I want to touch on something here, Laura. My opponent was on a podcast maybe last week. I believe it was Mercy's Corner or whatnot. And they were talking about this. And one thing stuck out to me. When she asked, and obviously they're both in favor of the bill, she asked a great question. What are we going to do about those very small communities that actually do depend, that are going to hurt as a result of that bill, right? Because most aren't, and that's okay. That's beautiful. But there are a lot of them that are going to hurt. And his answer was, well, that's going to be something for them to figure out on their own. And that's the attitude that I'm fighting against, because they believe that it's not their job to look after every single person under their purview. It's a dereliction of duty.
That's absolutely right. And I have to push back a little bit. I think it's going to hurt all of our municipalities.
Yeah.
Because cutting services means cutting the benefits that we receive. The other thing that I think people have to look and dig deeper about is, while this may benefit homeowners like me, actually, I am a homeowner.
Nice.
It's supposed to benefit me. I don't want it.
Right.
I don't want it.
Yeah.
What I want is for Tallahassee to fix the property insurance crisis. I want them to fix the affordability.
The root cause.
Exactly. The root cause. This is trying to put a Band-Aid over a problem.
A pretty Band-Aid.
That's actually going to make it worse because then we're going to have less services.
Yeah.
So when you're having to pay extra tolls, extra things, like it's more money out of your pocket. And what it does is it impacts because it only benefits homeowners that are homesteaded.
Right.
And there are a lot of people who invest in property, and that doesn't mean they're slumlords. There's nothing wrong with being, again, not a communist, in favor of people making money and being landlords and owning properties.
Capitalism.
But that is going to, they're gonna have to eat those costs, and that means that they're gonna push those costs onto renters.
Yeah.
And you had mentioned we have a huge population of renters. That's why we're seeing so many people
unheard majority.
Leaving our county, leaving our municipalities. And so it's going to impact renters terribly.
Absolutely.
So the problem with the Republican Party, as I see it, is they are short-sighted.
Yeah.
They want a simple solution or seemingly simple solution for right now that's going to win them the votes without looking at who it's going to hurt in the future.
Yeah.
And I think one of the benefits of being a Democrat is to say, listen, like you said, we want to always put whatever we can back into the constituents' pockets. We want to make sure people are prosperous, healthy, and safe. Like that is the motto of the Florida Democratic legislative caucus.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Safe, healthy, and prosperous. That's what we want.
I mean, it sounds like straight out of Benjamin Franklin's mouth, right? Yeah,
Right.
Absolutely. That was the envision for this country. You know, you're free to pursue that sort of life as long as you're not hurting anybody else. But here's the thing, you know, government has been hurting everybody else for so long. Tallahassee has been hurting everybody else for so long. And yes, Republicans are largely responsible for that. They own that. We can't say it any other way.
They've had a supermajority.
Exactly. And the governorship has been theirs for 30 years, right? Or so. And it's going to end this year. But my point is here, you know, that at the end of the day, I'm not so much focused on it being Republican or Democrat. And I want to go back to, you know, what was going on with Venezuela and one beautiful thing that I did see at the GEM, the Global Empowerment Mission, and I think it was Mana was one of the biggest supporters of that from Wynwood, and those, you have those big power brokers, but you also had everybody else in Miami-Dade, from east to west, north to south,
going through our closets, getting everything we can to
hands
donate.
in hand, you know, everybody uniting, and not one person was stopping a car and asking them, "Are you a Republican? Are you a Democrat? What are your beliefs? What's your creed? What's your race?"
I think that's so true, and that's the message for this election cycle.
Yeah,
is that I don't care how you identify. I don't care what your voter registration card says. Let's make a government that works for the people.
Right. Answers to the people. And it is of the people. How can you have representatives who have never worked a day in their life, broken a sweat, shed a tear, or had to stay up more than 12 hours working just to pay a bill? How can you have representatives who claim to represent? It's in the name and job description, folks. Represent, right? People who wake up before the sun is even up. And get home at 8 p.m. to put food on the table and do it again the next day and make sure their kids get their homework done. Or God forbid, their grandma, like my grandma, my whole life had to stay behind and take care of not just me, but my 4 other cousins because all our parents were off at work. Right? So it's how can you truly represent when you don't know what that is? Yeah, you might be from Cuba or you might be from a country that suffered, but you came here and you're part of the bourgeois, you're part of the upper class, you know, cream of the crop. But whereas the majority of Miami-Dade, like the renters and everybody else who have been unheard for so long, their voices have been silenced, they're there working day in and day out. Working harder than their representatives.
And listen, young people like you are facing this dilemma where they sometimes cannot afford to go to college. And even if they do, they can't find jobs. They can't find jobs. And so that just exacerbates, makes it worse. It makes everything worse in terms of affordability. And so I'm so glad to have your voice, a much needed voice, so that we can all say, look, doesn't matter how you identify politically. You may not care about politics, but politics impacts you every single day.
Cares about you. Yeah, cares about you.
So it's time to get involved. Rey, if people want to get involved with your campaign, this movement that you're building with already 30 volunteers, listeners, how do they get in touch with your campaign? How do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I have my Instagram, Ray for Florida. I have my Twitter, Ray for Florida. Instagram, where it's hot. Everybody's on there. We have our TikTok coming up.
Is it FOR or the number 4?
So it's going to be REY, Rey, Príncipe, no? Rey, por favor. Mentira. Pero Rey, number 4, Florida. .org is the website, ray4florida.org. We have our Instagram, our TikTok is coming up. And then apart from that, on my email, ray4florida at gmail.com, I have my phone number on there. It's the very basic principle, I believe, of being accessible to people. I don't care if I get harassed or if I get ugly texts or anything like that. I'm answerable to the people. I want to continue my job, which I do every day, serving tables and serving the community. I speak to them like this, and I want to be accessible. So yeah, reach out, join our cause. You can sign up at the ray4florida.org. We're growing, and we're not going to stop. We're going to stay in your faces, and we're going to fight till we get a seat at the table and keep the table. That table's not going to go if we have anything to say about it.
Thank you. And I just want to thank you all for joining us in this conversation. Reach out to Ray, reach out to myself. Make sure that you check your voter registration status and ensure that you are re-enrolled or enrolled in Vote by Mail. Have a great rest of your week.